To Russia, Ukraine and India's interests, as globally this entire aspect seems to be escalating and Russia seems to be hardening its position. We have got to brace ourselves at multiple levels, ladies and gentlemen. One, the safety of all Indian students and Indians who are present still stuck in Ukraine and want to make a way out. There have been corridors that have now been created. There are reports that are coming in. We'll go to that in just a bit. The other aspect is the economic fallout, the financial fallout, and of course the strategic fallout. There is a lot in it for India because India has equations and relations with both sides and all those who have already taken positions with Russia or against Russia. But the military onslaught in Ukraine has also entered its 13th day. Russia has proposed a ceasefire in 4 different cities of Kiev, Chernihiv, Sumy and Mariupol to facilitate civilian evacuations. While Ukraine dismissed the proposal, calling it a ploy by Vladimir Putin, there is some respite for civilians caught in the crossfire. The Green Corridor in Sumy has finally opened for evacuations. This brings hope that hostilities may pause just long enough for innocent civilians to flee to safety. This comes a day after Russia and Ukraine held their 3rd round of talks with no breakthrough so far. Arunima now joining us from Budapest with more. Arunima, are you still in Hungary or have you moved closer to yet another location to try and track? Because last we got to know most of the Indians had been evacuated safely out of Hungary. So whereabout have you been able to make your way? What is the ground situation at your end?
So we were at the Chomp, Zauni border. That's the border of Hungary and Ukraine yesterday, where refugees continue to pour in. The last set of Indian evacuees, of course, will be from Sumy. Other than these, about 694 of them, around 700 of them, who were stuck from the Sumy State University, unable to get evacuated from there. Most other Indians who were stuck in Ukraine have left. So on the Polish side, on the Budapest side, also in Romania, the SpiceJet flight, I think the last one is taking off today. They're all waiting to see from where the Sumy nationals will be evacuated. That's the big challenge. And at the border post here in Hungary also, that preparation is still on. But the story is not just about Indians here. The story unfolding is of about 200,000 people, about 2 million people there, leaving Ukraine. Mostly women and children are who I encountered at the Zauni border because men are not being allowed to leave Ukraine. Men who are of fighting age have been asked to stay back by President Zelensky to fight in this war. So women, mostly elderlies or with young kids were seen at that border. Here in Budapest is the Nyugati railway station, where a humanitarian center has been created for these refugees. Preparations are being made to ensure that they get either a hostel or a hotel or some kind of a dormitory to keep them warm. It's extremely cold. Right now it's a bright sunny day here at the Hero Square in Budapest. Hero Square is where Hungary celebrates its heroes, and right now there are a lot of humanitarian heroes that the country is celebrating as well. People who are going all out to help these Ukrainian evacuees, and there are Indians also who are lending a hand in that effort.
Well, what is the update? We are standing by for an update. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta is also getting us some update as far as Sumy is concerned and the students present there. But from the government sources, the rest of the nations, how many Indians still need to be evacuated, Arunima? And will that evacuation process be completed by the 10th or 11th of March? Those who have already left Ukraine.
Well, I have been speaking to student coordinators who are... Yes, student coordinators who are coordinating with the group in Sumy, they were reporting that the Sumy students had boarded the bus from Ukraine. They were hoping to cross over to the Russian side because it's just about an hour's journey there. But instead, they have been brought to the central Ukrainian side. And once they reach there, from there, they'll have to ensure that the journey towards western Ukraine is completed. But at least they're out of Sumy. Sumy has been a nightmare for them. Students have been telling me there's no electricity, there's no food, there's no water. Even the heating arrangements snapped, and the temperatures once the sun sets becomes sub-zero. So it was nightmarish experience for them. Twice they boarded the bus and had to get off because the humanitarian corridor that was promised saw intense artillery shelling. Today, however, there seems to be some hope for these students in Sumy. Like I was telling you, both the Polish and the Hungarian side of the border is prepared. The Indian mission is prepared to ensure that once they reach via western Ukraine, they can be evacuated at the earliest. As far as others are concerned, I think the bulk of Indian nationals who were stuck here have been evacuated. However, there are some who are still being evacuated via Bucharest. I just heard of a couple, a Ukrainian Indian husband, Ukrainian wife, who had a torrid time reaching Budapest, and they were trying to see how they could escape from here. Now they have been promised help by the Indian mission here, asking them to go to Bucharest via bus, and then from there they can take a flight. There's a SpiceJet flight there waiting, to ensure that whoever from India is left behind is accommodated.
Well, Arunima, stay safe and great job done. And I'm sure you've also had quite a tough time trying to see the families and also the misery that's been brought upon civilians who've been caught in this crossfire. And many would be wondering why is it being brought upon us. But there are those who would want to look at it as from the prism of outside the fishbowl, who would see that there are far more greater geostrategic pulls and pushes which have pushed perhaps Russia into a step like this. And there are narratives versus counter narratives on this.